Hey guys, just wanted to do my review of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 2, Episode 15, The Fellowship of the Spear. And of course, there are a lot of shoutouts to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, considering after the Legends find most of the pieces of the spear, that Rip remembers that when he's brainwashed, that the Legion of Doom's headquarters of operations were at the ruins of the Vanishing Point, which they traveled to, and they split up into two teams, each taking different pieces of the spear in order to locate the remaining piece of the spear, which glows in hopes that it starts glowing in locations to the other pieces of the spear. And with Jax and with Rip and Firestorm, they find an obelisk containing Legions of Doom, two pieces of the spear, and Firestorm uses his transmutation power to turn the obelisk into a pile of jelly beans, allowing them to retrieve the pieces of the spear. And at first I thought when watching this that it would be that it seemed like the operation was going way too easy for them to retrieve the spear. But it turns out that Eobard Thawne had really underestimated how their competence, and and he was saying when he was alerted to the security breach, they're not smart enough to do this. And by the time he sped off to try to catch the Legends, they already took the pieces of the spear and have taken off in their Wave Rider, leaving the Vanishing Point with the Legion of Doom's remaining pieces of the spear. The point where he got pissed off, and even Damien Darhk suggested it's time to change the game. And based on Nate's research and the pieces of the spear coming together, they found out that the only way to destroy it was through. And after Mick had used his heat gun to try to burn it and destroy it, that there was a message inscribed in the spear which says "Done by blood, undone by blood." And through Nate's research, that not only do they need the blood of Christ to destroy it, but the only person who would know the location and who wrote an unpublished research paper about it was J.R.R. Tolkien, who was the author of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogy. So Legends travel to World War I France and pick up Tolkien when he's down with a fever and he has to be taken off the battlefield. And they explain their situation, to him, and why they need to find the blood of Christ to help destroy the Spear of Destiny. And like I said, there are a lot of shout-outs to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because, like the One Ring, the Spear of Destiny tries to tempt people, as Rip warns, with giving to their greatest regrets and desires in order to use their power to change the spear, or use the spear to change reality. And he warns that absolute power corrupts absolutely, with the spear calling out to them, or at least with Rip and with Mick and Amaya being telling about the voices of their parents saying that they should use it to rewrite reality, and Mick saying he should use them to save his parents, Amaya saying he should use it to honor his family of his memory and rewrite reality. The latter even suggesting they even use the Spear of Destiny instead of just trying to find the vial to destroy the spear. Use the spear to even erase the Legion of Doom members from existence. And being out on the battlefield, in the World War I battlefield, Amaya learning of her future with her village burning down in Zambezi, and her granddaughter, it makes her own. She starts to question her own mortality. Starts to become a reality to her, to the point where she becomes almost shell shocked by, the injured around her, and even when they're escaping towards the end of the episode, where she gets so frozen in fear that it takes her a while to bring herself together and get back on board the Wave Rider. And she even discloses her fear, because there's a Sarah, and she says that based on what Laurel told her about Sarah, because Laurel had interacted with her granddaughter Mari McCabe during season 2 of Vixen, that she became a hero of her own right and basically honored Amaya's legacy. So the problem is that while retrieving the spear, Mick spots Snart and tells him about his plan, about the Legend's plan to try to find Tolkien and the Blood of Christ and try to use it to destroy the spear, assuming he's listening to another hallucination of Snart. But he's the real deal. He's basically an earlier version of Snart who was pulled from the timeline by Thawne and the Legion before he was recruited by the Legends, because he punches out Mick and leaves a scar on his face. And then when Tolkien is working with Rip and the other Legends to try to find the burial of Sir Gawain in a cathedral, whose shield has a map of where the location of the vial is, where he has to use like crayon to press the paper against it and sort of like etch it onto the piece of paper. They encounter Snart, and Mick's first reaction is, "Oh my god, you guys can see him?" And they realize like he's not a hallucination, and Rip realizes like, oh, it's an earlier version of Snart from before he was recruited to the Legends, especially with Dark showing up, as well as like a bunch of army soldiers trying to ambush them to stop them from getting the information about the Vial of Christ. They end up getting chased off, and the Legends get pissed at him for the fact that Mick told Snart about their plan. But this is probably the point of the episode where Mick is at his most sympathetic, because of the fact that, you know, even Stein knew that he was having hallucinations with Snart and could have easily been fooled and assumed that the Snart he was talking to was another hallucination. But even he was getting on his case about it and saying like, "Oh, can we trust you? Can we trust you to like be on the team or choose Snart?" And he said that he would choose Snart because of the fact that how they're kind of like chastising him for his actions, and it just feels like, you know, I love how they finally address this. I mean, this has always been played up for laughs, at least for the second season, about how he was basically like how Mick Rory on the team was like the friend that nobody liked and who was like the token asshole, kind of like Eric Cartman in a sense on South Park. Like they never like trusted or respected him. And which is kind of ironic considering is like they went through considering his actions as Kronos and the fact that he tried to kill Sarah and betrayed Team of the Time Pirates, you know, back in season 1, that they still wanted to they went out of their way to rehabilitate him, even though Snart was pissed at him. But it's like they still kind of never trusted him or came to like or respect him. And then that finally came to a head in this episode because of the fact that, in terms of when they went back into the battlefield to try to find the blood of Christ with the vial containing it, Rip was able to call a ceasefire between the two sides on the battlefield. But then Snart and Dark showed up threatening to kill the team. But because of all the mistrust towards Mick, that he decided that, you know what, I don't have any friends. And Snart said he had partners, and then he decided to, you know, take the whole spear and go with the rest of the Legion, in which Snart had a explosive which caused them to end the ceasefire, and Thawne came in being able to take all the Legion members, including as well as Mick, out of the battlefield, and in the middle of the friendly fire, the vial of the blood that contained Christ's blood was destroyed, and the Legends were forced to retreat. And Jax was going on bitching about like, oh, how I can't believe Mick betrayed us. And Rip and Rory acknowledges like, well, can you blame him? It's like we never liked or respected him, and they even acknowledged that, wow, Mick was really smart, and Mick was even smarter than they give him credit for, to the fact that even he sensed that from the team. And Nick gave out some kind of host by saying it's like, well, the Legion doesn't know how to use the spear, so maybe there's, maybe the odds aren't completely against him. But the problem is that Malcolm Merlin had traveled to go retrieve a book that told him how to, like, at least cast a spell that at least allowed them to, like, activate the spear, which is, even though technically, the excuse, even though it was clear that John Barrowman was in the episode because he was filming the Flash musical episode, he was basically sent to retrieve. And the in-universe explanation was that he was sent to go retrieve the manual allowing them to operate the Spear of Destiny, and the 5 of them hold on to the spear. Malcolm chants the spell, and gives all this huge burst of light while all 5 of them are in the vanishing point, causing them to rewrite reality. So, I mean, it's not as good as last week's episode. I thought it was still an interesting episode, considering that, like I said, Mick was the most sympathetic member of the team. This was the most sympathetic he's been since he's been on the team, because of the fact that, it was established in the Flash 316 episode that Leonard Snart had Barry Allen to inspire him to be a better person, to be a better hero. And I guess Snart was the closest thing that Mick had to try to inspire him to be better. But the thing is that throughout the season, he had trouble coping with his own, animalistic nature and his psychosis and wanting to be a criminal, and the cognitive dissonance that caused with him being on the team. And, he felt lost without Leonard. But the problem, and the thing is the fact that, because he was treated like the token asshole on the team, and he was the one that everybody kind of disrespected and kind of thought he was like the token jerk, that, just like season 1 where Rip called him out saying this, he never wanted to recruit him on the team. He only figured that he and the Snark came as a package deal. It came back to bite him in the ass a second time, which is why, to me, it was kind of weird that, it seemed like, and almost like the team didn't learn from their mistakes, that, and especially since they went through hell to try to rehabilitate him, and they still thought less of him, and it still came back to bite him in the ass, but which is kind of weird, it's just weird to me. But so I give this episode a 7 out of 10. I can't wait for next week's episode, where they do create an alternate reality where apparently the Star Labs in Central City looks like the Hall of Doom from Super Friends, and apparently Felicity's supposed to be a vigilante in this new reality, and Nick, because he's the only one who has memories of the original, of how things were before Legion of Doom alter reality, that he's going to start recruiting the other legends and try to get the gang back together, saying, you know what, I realize I made a mistake, I need to put things back to the way they were. So kind of looking forward to the next week's episode and how this new world is different, what Mick's going to do, and this is going to be like his chance to shine and, step into the plate and maybe even, really honor Snart's memory and truly become a hero in this next episode, which, and I guess this whole season has been pretty solid. I like the direction this is going towards the finale, and I feel like this has arguably been probably the best of the CW DC shows so far, the most well-written and consistent, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I mean, do you guys feel the same way? Are you excited to see Nick play the underdog, get the gang back together? Were you finally happy they got Snart back in the Flash after hyping up his return for so long? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.